Hello, I'm Mike Jones from FCSI's Foodservice Consultant Magazine. Welcome to this FCSI panel hosted here at FoodSpace in Boise, Idaho. This particular episode is supported by TurboAir, many thanks to them, and it's focusing on the interplay between the food service consultant and the equipment manufacturer and the impact that can have on the success of a project. In order to tackle that subject today, I'm delighted to be joined by three leading voices in this sector. So I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and then we can get going. Jen, can we start with you first, please?
Absolutely. I'm Jen Hollenbeck, and I am an FCSI associate, also a project manager here at FoodSpace. So my role here is making sure everything moves along on the project from the beginning of planning and programming through health department and all the way through to installation and turnover of the projects.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jen. And thank you for hosting us here at FoodSpace. And Bill.
Yeah, my name is Bill Caruso. I'm a fellow of the Foodservice Consultant Society International. This is my 52nd year of membership in the society, and a lot of great years, a lot of great friends, and I'm pleased to be here today to talk to my good friends on this panel.
Thank you for joining us, Bill. And another Bill.
My name is Bill Smith, the relationship. I'm with TurboAir Manufacturing as a global manufacturer of commercial food service equipment. It's extremely important for us to work with the consultants to develop, design, and produce equipment for their needs.
Fantastic.
So we're very happy to be here.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you for your support with this event. Bill Caruso, let's start with you first, please. You mentioned that 52 years as a member of FCSI. You've worked on countless projects in your career. Could you maybe summarize how multifaceted, how pivotal the role of a consultant is and what it plays throughout a project? And what are the kind of qualities that a consultant brings to bear on a project?
Yeah, I've found that over the years, on any project, large or small, the consultant is sort of the binding glue, the food service consultant, which basically says, the consultant really is an integral part of the team. They direct various members of the team on specific food service related issues, and they become sort of the go-to person that all facets of the line of charge, so to speak, all of the facets of the group involved in the project come to ask questions. And they rightly so need to get out front of a project and provide that direction that all projects really need.
Absolutely. Jen, as a continuation of Bill's point there, a key factor for success on a project, it invariably seems to get the consultant in early and get involved in early, as Bill said, to be an integral part of a project, to be that binding element, the glue. Why is the consultant a linchpin? Why is it as such a key kind of keystone role in a project?
Yeah, it's absolutely important to get us involved early. Getting us involved can help prevent problems early on instead of trying to reactively address those. Our role, as he said, is to align the project's big picture, make sure that these details are locked in before everything gets too far on the project. We help align the architects, the engineers, the manufacturers along the process of making sure we're all on the same page. So in many ways, like he said, we're the glue that puts it together. And, having us involved early helps make some of these things that can fall through the cracks get caught early on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
Bill, from your perspective as the equipment manufacturer in this piece, what does good look like in terms of the relationship and the interplay between a consultant and a manufacturer throughout a project? And why does strengthening that relationship invariably help the project?
That's a multifaceted thing from any manufacturer's standpoint. It's very important to listen because not the equipment that manufacturer that makes may not be suited for the end user. So we work closely with the consultants or the designers to say, okay, it's this piece or that. But most importantly, a lot of times off-the-shelf equipment will not work.
Yes.
Whatever the reason. So the manufacturer will then step in and say, okay, we can do this or we can't do that. And a lot of times the reason why the manufacturer can't build is due to government regulations. So that part of it, we all understand. But most importantly is we can make that piece, or any manufacturer that's out there, if we can make the piece, we're more than happy to do it. And where the strength comes from is working with these consultants. You may have some smaller consultants that want something that unfortunately I can't make. But then you have a lot of consultants that if I hear the same thing 2 or 3 times in a row, we're going to build that for production. We're going to build that for a stock item then. Because a lot of times we don't think as a manufacturer, oh, we need that or they need this. So when the consultant brings us that special project, it's like we evaluate that from many different aspects.
Thank you, Bill. And Bill Caruso, what Bill was saying here is communication is really key here. And it seems like a constant back and forth between the stakeholders. What happens when there is a weak link in the relationship between those stakeholders? How can poor communication negatively impact on a project? How can things snowball?
You see that I'm slyly smiling a bit here because this particular question goes to the root of what we believe as consultants have been a problem over many, many years. If we're not all rowing the boat at the same pace and in the same direction, we've got a problem. Yeah. If there's one loose bolt in the whole process, the owner is not going to maximize the investment nor the final result. And basically, we learn from each one of us. We call it in the 5 families, whether it's the manufacturer, the dealer, the reps, the consultants, the end user. We have to put politics aside. Yep. We have to be on the same page. And it's up to the consultant to make sure that the group is on the same page. Otherwise, bottom line, and everybody listening in knows this, the owner will not maximize the investment that they're putting into a project.
So how does that work in practice, Jen? How do you make sure everyone is on the same page, to Bill's point? How do you make sure that all parties are kept in the loop, remain informed, remain on side and engaged in the project throughout the entire process? How do you do that?
Well, transparency and consistency, I think, is key. Because nobody likes surprises on projects as much as they do come up. We try to keep everybody informed and kept in the loop by regular check-ins. Yep. and making sure everything is clearly documented and shared with the entire team. Like I said, issues are going to come up on a project, but I think addressing them quickly, helps build that trust and with your client and keep the momentum of the project going.
Fantastic. Bill, as a kind of a continuation of that thought process, even away from projects, how do you make sure that you're staying close to consultants so that they're aware of the products that you've got out there, they're aware of the services, the benefits, the advantages? How do you keep that kind of up-to-date education element? How does training play into this? How do you do it from your perspective?
Well, what's key with our department, basically, I think any manufacturer is there that's out there. One of the things you have to do is a relationship. Training the CEU, the continuing education units that you can offer as a manufacturer. And again, they have to be gender neutral, these continuing education, but that's key. The professional members have to have X amount of credits per year. And manufacturers, this is a big deal. Get on board with this. Get on board with advertising in the magazine. That is a key. Not only that, what happens at that point when they see you at a national show like NAFM or whatever that event might be, then they're coming over to you asking you questions. Can you do this? Can you do that? But from our perspective, really what's important is getting there and building that relationship. I don't make a sale. I start building the relationship. And that's important to develop that. We're all busy, everybody's busy today, but if I get a call from one of my consultant contacts, that goes right to the top of the list because I realize they're not going to call me unless there is an issue or a problem or something that needs to be resolved. And as Jen said, we have to resolve these very, very quickly. Not only is our name out there, the consultant's brand is on that job, but as Bill said earlier, the ownership is not going to maximize that. And then the next project or development, they're going to, I don't want this piece of equipment there. So it's a multi-pronged event, a facet that each manufacturer is facing. But I think we all have that same challenge. And that's key.
Yeah, absolutely. Great answer, Bill. Thank you. Bill, we're also living in an increasingly kind of virtual world where a lot of work is done remotely, and we use platforms for doing that. But why do in-person events, to Bill's point about actual, on-the-spot training and seeing the whites of the eyes of the people that you're working with, why is that important? Why are events like this important? Why are trade shows important? Why is it important to actually test equipment, see it in the flesh, and play with it and learn from it?
Well, needless to say, at my age, I'm old school the way I look at things. And I believe very strongly in face-to-face communications, body language, how people act and react. But it's very, very important to understand exactly what somebody's goals and objectives are. It's important to understand where the industry is going, to talk to your colleagues, but also to talk about other team members. Because at all of our functions, at all the FCSI functions, we have manufacturers, we have some dealers that are there, reps, and there's no better way than to sit down with them and talk to them about really where the state of the industry is, what their problems are, what our problems are, and come to a median point. And by the way, that last point about kicking the tires, one of the problems that we have as consultants, and it's been this way for 50, 60, 70 more years, is the fact that we don't do enough tire kicking at factories. There are a lot of great manufacturers out there who never can break the ice with consultants. I'll talk from experience. You get comfortable with a group of products that you use, some for refrigeration, others for, cooking equipment, etc. And you tend to get a little bit lazy. You need to kick the tires. You need to give all the manufacturers their fair due and go to the factories and see what they're producing, see what the new wave research is, new types of products. Because if we do not do that, we're not doing our profession right.
Yeah, absolutely.
We really aren't. So that's very important to consider.
Thank you, Bill. And so, Bill, if you get the consultants to actually do the tire kicking, how do you garner their insight, garner their feedback, and how does that feedback into helping you guys to innovate new products, making sure your products remain cutting edge? How do you do that? How do you capture that insight and that direct feedback from consultants?
Well, as Bill said, the first key is getting them to the factory or getting them into the booth to show them. But we directly take that feedback, and if it's feasible for us to do that and we can do it, we will change pretty quickly. A lot of the units that we manufacture today are driven from the consultants giving us direct feedback. Change this. I don't like this. I like that. There's, I don't know, 5 different variations that we have as a manufacturer. One of the things that we constantly heard was, we don't like PVC coated shells. We don't like epoxy coated shells. So for us, one of the feedbacks that we have is stainless steel shells as standard on a couple of the series that we manufacture. That is a direct feedback from the consultants. And it's important when you listen to that, what they don't like. And there's a reason for that, because the consultants and the designers, they're the guys in the trenches. They're the guys that are getting the feedback, having the ownership, or the end user beat them up. So when we listen to that, when they bring that back to us, that's extremely valuable information.
Yeah, absolutely. Jen, that valuable information that Bill is talking about there, we've got a host of innovation kind of introduced to new products at the moment. You've got things like AI that are being introduced to products. Why is it essential, therefore, that consultants keep refreshing their understanding of the products that are available on the market? Your colleague Joe has a phrase that I love, which is about being ferocious learners. Consultants have to be ferocious learners. Why is that a prerequisite for the role of being a consultant, to keep learning about what's out there?
Well, you're right. I mean, the technology is moving so fast, and AI is a perfect example of that. But our clients, they depend on us to be up on all that knowledge and provide them with the right solutions for everything that their project entails. So, like he says, being a ferocious learner, it's like a prerequisite for a consultant, and making sure you're staying curious and constantly learning, whether that's through manufacturer training, both in person, virtual, attending all the FCSI events, engaging with all of your industry partners, you're getting knowledge every time you have a conversation. And I think that's the key to making sure that you're developing and bringing forth a future-ready solution for your clients.
Fantastic. Bill, how have you stayed curious throughout your career? How have you achieved that? How have you maintained that level of, I want to keep learning?
Sure. Well, I'm kind of a unique example because I retired and then I unretired, so to speak. I love it so much that I'm constantly looking at new things, new ways, and I think it's very important to constantly be interested and to provide your own experience and background, and look at equipment, look at manufacturers, look at the dealerships, the reps, and talk to your fellow colleagues. No one's never that old. I mean, I can't think of anything I'd rather do than do what I'm doing. And even in partial retirement, I seem to enjoy it even more. So it's keeping the engagement going. And that's what we need as a society. I just got done with a new College of Fellows program as an example. And you're talking about a lot of individuals who spend a lot of time in our society, the mentoring, the helping other younger consultants. That's all part of this thing. This is a big package. And we all have to put in whatever we can do to wrap that package up in a complete way.
Fantastic. Does this chime with you, Jen? Why do you find consultancy such a rewarding profession, and how does it play to your own sort of personal strengths?
So, one of the things that I noticed the most when I got into this industry is there is not a single project that is the same. Everything is different, everything you step into, and each one requires a different level of problem solving, and it's always different. It's very rewarding to be able to see that initial idea come to reality, and how that how you've impacted that project being a benefit to your end user is very rewarding. But as Bill was saying, I think it's also about the relationships too. You're gaining the trust within your client, but you're also building lifelong friendships and relationships with your industry partners. And I think that's equally as fulfilling, I think.
Wonderful. Great to hear. Bill, from your perspective then, Jen used that phrase, future ready. For the industry to be future ready, future fit, why are those relationships key and to be strong and maintain? Why is collaboration the kind of watchword and pivotal? And ultimately, why does teamwork make the dream work on a project?
Well, you just said it. Teamwork is critical. There's no I in team.
Yep. And
without the input, development, this industry is just going to get stuck. Now, with AI coming, the way that technology's constantly evolving, almost at a rapid pace, it's almost every other month there's some new widget or what have you. This is the only way that our industry is going to move forward. From the equipment manufacturing standpoint, okay, you make this or you make that widget, whatever, but how to improve it, how to develop it, how to make that a more energy efficient piece is all coming as developing quickly. Controls that we had 25 years ago are not what they have today. Right. Now, yes, we do have some government oversights that we have to get through, as all manufacturers do. But with AI, new controllers, new technology that's coming, there's so much stuff that's new on the development board. And unfortunately, I can't talk about it, but it's like, wow, this is coming down the pike. And not in 5 or 6 years, like you might start seeing some of this new technology next year coming. So, and it's every different piece of equipment, cooking, heating, ventilation, refrigeration, what have you.
So we've got new innovation. Go, Bill.
No, I was just going to say, to add on to what Bill's saying, that's part of the technology part of the things, but we've got a very real human element that goes on with this collaboration. And I say this with a lot of experience in this particular situation, but we as a group, remember what I said before, of all the different partners in the chain, must work together. Now, and I'm looking right in the camera when I say this to all of you, that and you know where I'm going to go with this. We have some partners who work together and other partners who work against us. And that does not benefit the owner.
Yep.
Until the day when we can all see in one direction and work together in one direction, the owner will not fare as well as they could in an optimal way. And that means the owner has a goal and objective. The consultant takes that goal and objective and proceeds ahead and talks to the other partners, the reps, the local reps for the equipment, the manufacturer who needs to provide that type of equipment, exactly what the consultant needs, and last of all, the dealer who has to provide that equipment. And I don't like to hear we might want to provide it, or maybe we won't. No, we'll go behind, we'll change the spec. No, I'm old school. None of that gets changed. We act as professionals, ethical professionals. Enough said, period.
Great point, Bill. Thank you very much. Could I ask the same question to you across the panel? With the industry having to face new challenges, it seems, at every turn at the moment, why is it more important than ever that key stakeholders on a project, particularly the consultants and the equipment manufacturers, keep communicating effectively, respect each other's skill sets, and work closely together? Bill, if you could summarize.
I have to go along with Bill here that communications is number one. Making sure that at least the specifications are being held by the dealer, distributor, whoever's selling that piece of equipment. And there's been multiple times that I get a phone call where it's like, hey, XYZ did not do this. I'm like, I didn't know anything about that. You know, and that's where a piece of the pie, or, you know, a bolt has fallen off the wagon here. And manufacturers, as well as the consultants, as well as the diners, the dealers, whatever, we all have to be on the same page, as Bill said, looking down the same road. That is extremely important. I've had projects that have went perfect, no issues, no problems, even no flags on the final. And then I've had them where there have been absolute nightmares because something didn't go right.
Yeah.
So I believe communication should be the top essential for everybody involved. If we have good communications, we have a good partnership, and that just is a domino effect all the way down.
Fantastic. Bill, do you agree?
I would agree. And by good communications, let me just detail that a little bit more. Respect for one another. Respect for the owner who's paying the bills. The only one we care about is the owner. That's what consultants, that's FCSI consultants, care about, the owner experience. They must have a quality project.
Fantastic. Thank you, Bill. And Jen, same
Yeah,
point?
I feel I'm regurgitating, but, you know, collaboration, I think, allows us all to adapt more quickly and provide the end user, the owners, with better project outcomes. Working together doesn't just benefit a single project, but I think it benefits the long-term health of our industry.
Fantastic, and that's what it's all about. Really good debate today. Thank you so much to our panelists, to Bill, to Jen. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you very much to Turbo Air for their support in this episode, and thank you for watching. Thank you.